All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We're only 12 minutes late. This is the MMA Advocates presented by CrossBonesMMA. My name is Eddie Law. We got Fred Kirby out of Dayton, Ohio. A little bit of depressed area right now. Not the city, maybe Cleveland. The state alone. It's a little fucked up. I think they're down 5-1 right now.
Easy. It's not over yet. It's not over yet.
All right, we'll pretend that we give a shit about baseball. All right, and then Dave Rodriguez out of ABQ, of course, with the fresh. Looks like you got a fresh cut now. That was you got the fade and all that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a different person now, totally, man.
Yeah, because you
had looking like a Iranian John B.
I'm trying with the beard here. You know, I mean, Kirby, you got me on that, but this is like the longest I think it's ever been before. So we'll work with it.
There you go. And of course, Mr. Andrew Reid out of the UK already giving a shit about Trump and the future of the US in 8 days. We're pretty much fucked. So
yeah, we've started off on facial fashion and bloody. Yeah, great. Yeah, let's start with that. Yeah. Ramblers and facial fashion.
Facial fashion or facial hair fashion and plastic hair. That's what we went to. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Awesome. No events this last weekend, but we got plenty of events this weekend. We got Bellator tomorrow night. We got EBI on Sunday. Of course, UFC on Saturday. Plenty to watch. And, you know, a surprising amount actually went down to last week. Kicking off here with, Dave talking about the Fighters Union has a 9-panel executive board of fighters involved. So you were talking actually about one of your guys, Cowboy Cerrone, is going to be involved in that and actually kind of wants to head the whole thing. What do you know about this whole Fighters Union thing with Cowboy?
Yeah, as we all know, Donald has openly said that, you know, he'd definitely be the guy to be the face of that Fighters Association. Not quite a union, you know, it is the Fighters Association. It's in its early stages now. As we all know, one of the guys directly involved is attorney for Nick Diaz, Lucas Middlebrook, and they're just educating the fighters right now, getting them more comfortable with them, you know, handing out these cards, submitting them, getting them approved through the National Labor Relations, just educating them, letting them know. A lot of fighters really aren't too educated on some of these topics and where it's going to actually benefit them in the future. And I think Donald will be a good candidate there. I think Tim Kennedy's probably got some involvement there. There'll be some surprising names that do surface. So if it's a 9-panel executive board, I'm very intrigued and very interested to see who these other names are, and which we'll know very soon. And it kind of leads into like where we're talking about last week about the GSP situation, where it would be a different scenario where GSP would be able to file a grievance. You'd have actually, you know, it wouldn't be this ironclad UFC contract where it's, hey, you either are forced to fight and that's it. Like Jose Aldo recently came out and said he don't really have a choice. He's got to fight. And that's what we've seen it playing out to be, is where Jose just got to continue to fight. So the way these contracts are structured with the UFC, there definitely needs to be some type of representation on a fighters, based on some fighters, experienced fighters, and some big names in the sport as well. So Donald Cerrone definitely will be directly involved in this process. Absolutely.
A lot of things have to happen for the association to even work. I mean, Andrew, you were talking about the Ali Act. Hasn't passed yet. That's pretty much necessary for this to work out, right?
Well, you'd think so, wouldn't you? I mean, it depends how they're going to. Is it going to be a fighters association or a fighters union? That's the thing. And how much power do they think they're going to have? Because if they think they want to wield more power than the UFC are going to accept, I can see the UFC stamping on it. If the UFC just see it as, you know, a boys' club, basically, that they all get together and mumble about the UFC every now and again, then the UFC is going to let it go. But if they if you turned up and they get the union together and Ronda Rousey's headlining the fight and Cerrone's on it, and he turns around and says, no, the conditions for this fight are terrible, I want to pull out. And a part of the union, they all get together. Do you think Ronda Rousey's going to stand there and go, yeah, okay, I'll pull out for you, Cowboy? It isn't going to happen. I mean, there'll be a union in name only.
Yeah, in name and in Twitter kind of at that point. Fred, what do you think?
Who gives a fuck?
No,
seriously. I mean, I'm sitting here wondering this. So there's these 9 mystery guests, right?
Yeah.
Listen, unless one of them happens to be named Connor or Ronda or fucking Johnny Bones Jones, which he's low-key irrelevant now too, who gives a shit? Donald Cerrone's a good kid. He's a good draw. But listen, they will ship his ass straight to Bellator. They will most certainly not let him, you know, start doing shit. And Tim Kennedy?
Yeah.
He'll be fucking hunting Hitler again. I mean, I really don't think, like Andrew said, if they try to get cute with this shit and start becoming a real nuisance, if they actually have the power to persuade somebody like Ronda or Connor which they don't. But if they did, I think the UFC would do everything in its power to fucking snuff this right out. So I don't know. What does this really mean? At the end of the day, what are these fuckers going to do? I guess it depends on who the guests are, right? Really interesting names on there that shock the shit out of us, maybe. But if it's fucking, Nate Corey and the usual suspects on there, I don't think nobody's really going to give a shit. And quite frankly, as popular as Donald Cerrone is, the UFC will move on without him, Jack, without a second thought. And Tim Kennedy, most certainly.
Yeah, and the thing is too, just like you said, unless there's a name like Conor or Ronda in it, and Ronda might not even be that relevant, coming up soon after this fight. If she loses this fight against Amanda Nunes, she's out.
What do you mean if? What do you mean?
Okay. Let's just say when, whatever. She loses this next fight, it's not gonna matter, So it's just
you almost need like every person on this panel to be a current UFC champion. You feel me?
Yeah.
Like you need to be able to shut shit down to where the UFC goes, okay, fuck, you got us by the short and curlies. Let's negotiate. If you come up with fucking 6 shitbirds and Donald Cerrone, they'll just be like, let Donald sink with a lot of them.
Well, the situation is basically the fighters that are getting paid a fortune won't join this union, and then the fighters that aren't getting paid a fortune will join the union. And if your threat is to pull out, if your threat is to pull out because you'll take your pay-per-view eyes out of the event. Well, if you still got the likes of Conor McGregor and Eddie Alvarez and all these people on the main card, it's not going to give a toss to the UFC. They'll just fill it with other, half-baked fighters that don't really put the draw in. It just doesn't. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. It's just a flexing of muscles from some of the fighters that think that they're going to be listened to, and I really don't think they are.
Yeah, it's like when people talk about, oh, this fight's not fair, that fight's not fair. It's almost like the fighters think that the UFC is going to play fair, or WME is going to play fair. Ari's an idiot. They're not dumb. They're not where they're at because they're stupid. They know how to shut this down, right, Dave?
Yeah, that's true. That's why it's kind of even more interesting that this whole Fighters Association thing came about exactly timed around like UFC 200 is when they started this movement in which it was, the transition of power. So nobody really tried to pull this shit with the Fertitta regime, with them in charge. And pretty much, it's a whole different landscape for the MMA world now. There's a lot of shit going on, 28 million in cutbacks, possibly lesser cards. They've taken action overseas in their markets, replaced people there, redundant positions. So it's different. That it's very strange that they're pulling this now.
It just seems stupid to me at the end of the day. It just seems stupid. Yeah. The UFC are looking for an excuse to get rid of people at the moment.
Yeah, kind of.
And like Fred said, if you're the likes of Tim Kennedy, do you think you got a draw in the UFC? Of course. How long is it since he's had a fight? For God's sake, I mean,
literally.
Yeah, and he's already said. I mean, what did Kennedy say? He's already said that if he's not in the mix after he's already predicting pretty much a win against Rashad, but we'll see what happens there. He said if he's not in the mix for somewhat of a title shot, then you're going to catch him finding or hunting Hitler, and that's where you're going to find him. Is making doing TV shows and stuff like that.
As well.
I mean, yeah, and you know what? There's the sad fact of it, man. At the end of the day, I mean, Tim Kennedy is a great fighter, and I'm sure a few of his fans will miss him. But generally speaking, the MMA world won't fucking stop spinning one iota if Tim Kennedy decides to get lost on the History Channel for the rest of his fucking life.
If they miss him, they should learn to shoot straight.
Here's the thing too, though. Like, generally speaking, I mean, look, the Bud Light fans, the casual fans, they don't know jack shit about Tim Kennedy, and they don't care jack shit about Tim Kennedy. You know what I mean? So he's gone. I mean, UFC's gonna be like, okay, whatever, next guy up, right? He can go off to Bellator, and they can pretend like they signed a huge name.
Having said that, though, the UFC have just signed that Welsh guy, haven't they? Who's
I read about him.
He's a former para, right? And para, they're like US Marines. They're mental. And put him against Tim Kennedy. I'd love to see that because he would smash him into oblivion. That can be his last fight.
Is he a middleweight? You know? Oh, make that fight for sure. Make that fight for sure. They'll wait till some kind of
special forces fight. That'll be.
That'd be legit.
Have y'all seen any recent pictures of Tim Kennedy? The guy looks fucking jacked as shit going into UFC 205.
I seen a picture of him.
He's the only clean one in the UFC, that guy.
Yeah.
He's been tested a shit ton. And I think there's somebody above. I forgot who the most tested athlete is. It might be Anderson Silva. But I think Tim Kennedy's right up there, though. They've been randomly just testing the shit, I think, out of Anderson Silva, though.
Yo, did you guys see the pictures of Badahari? Right, like pictures of him, like just like literally like months ago, looking like a normal dude, and then now like his muscles have muscles. It's retarded. Like you look at me like what the fuck? Like for sure, like on a whim, test that motherfucker. And I don't think they test like for I think kickboxing. I don't think it tests for kickboxing. So
No,
it doesn't really matter. Yeah. So I was just kind of like, God damn, dude. If there was ever anyone that's on the Overeem meat, it's that guy. All right. Moving on here, let's talk a little bit about Verdum. Now, Verdum went on the Instagram just a few days ago and basically told Reebok to suck his balls. Actually, exactly told Reebok to suck his balls in Portuguese. This coming from like a long stem of him just being, a lot of fighters, not just him, but a lot of fighters being really upset about the sponsorship deal. The fact that Reebok is the only sponsor. A lot of fighters lost a lot of money in that whole deal. And look, as far as I know, and Dave, you can tell me if you know anything different. As far as I know, Verdum was actually repping Reebok a whole ton in Latin America. In Mexico, he was repping them on broadcast, in Colombia, everywhere, right? All these other places. Yeah. And he was repping them hard. And then out of nowhere, he comes out with this shit and puts a Nike swoosh, Photoshop a Nike swoosh on his fight kit. Now, Verdum doing this, the consequence, well, he didn't get cut. He didn't get fined. He did get taken off all broadcasts, though, UFC broadcasts. And that's the UFC protecting their business partner, Reebok. Exactly. Money talks, bullshit walks. So, Dave, what do you think about this whole thing with Verdum?
Yeah, it's ultimately it's pretty odd. I mean, coming from the guy, what was he throwing flying Liu Kang kicks in his last fight? Verdum's been doing some weird shit lately. But with the King's MMA, we all know RDA's left King's MMA. Verdum's had a crazy year, an up and down year. He fought a big, event, 40,000 Brazilians, got put to sleep down there. Like you said, he was pretty much a pretty big supporter of Reebok. From what I know, Verdum was, making a shit ton of money in sponsors as well outside of, the UFC and Reebok. But I guess he still has a lot of sponsors that stuck with him throughout his career in the UFC pre-Reebok era to current. So he's one of the fighters where he can kind of, I don't know, he's kind of dicking around. Maybe he wants to be cut. Maybe he wants to pursue some other crazy fucking circus fights elsewhere. He's an older guy. Don't forget, Verdum's already, 39, 40 years old. It's a weird move on him. It's even more strange that there's, RDA leaving King's MMA and stuff like that. So, but I guess Verdum is likely to leave King's MMA soon as well. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. But they acted on that shit quickly, though, and they pulled him from those broadcasts and the commentating. So they shut him up real quickly. So that's showing that the UFC, that he's on their fucking shit list right now, pretty much.
All right, Fred.
Listen, have you seen that fucking face that Verdum makes?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, but the fucking dopey. Listen, Verdum.
You mimic it every second you're awake, mate.
Blow me, English. Listen, that dude is one of the biggest, baddest dudes on planet Earth. You can't have it all, right? He's a big, huge, great fighter. He's a fucking dummy. It's fucking, we're dummy, man. Why the fuck would you do this? Even if you felt like this, why do it? It's just going to cost you money. You know what happened from him doing this? He lost money.
Yeah,
he lost that fucking announcing it. So everybody hates Reebok. We're dummy. You're not fucking new. Of course, nobody likes Reebok. Who does he think he made a statement to with doing this? Did he enlighten anybody on how shitty the Reebok deal is? Is anybody in, like, all we know now is that Verdum doesn't like the Reebok deal. Yeah, big fucking whoop. It ain't gonna change shit. There's deals, pen's been put to paper. Reebok's gonna be there for however long they're gonna be there, no matter how much fucking Verdummy don't like it. Except now he ain't making money. Little piece of advice for you, bro. Keep your fucking mouth shut and do the job. You signed up. You knew what it was. You was a member of the UFC when Reebok came on board. Why all of a sudden now are you going to make a video and cost yourself thousands of dollars? Who knows? Hundreds of thousands maybe. For what? So that we know you don't like Reebok? Keep your fucking trap shut like the rest of the dummies.
Yeah, and Verdum, not a bright move, but he's also like a different guy. He's never followed the company line really ever. So, but he's kind of dumb.
I just think that since the Stipe fight, he must have found a new glue supplier, because he's lost the plot since then. He really has. From those stupid faces to his entrance, he did come out to Senna, which is my hero, so fair enough. But other than that, and the the moves he was throwing in the cage in his last fight, and now this. This glue's gone straight to his head. He's on something. He should just step away from social media.
You know what it is? He's I mean, it's the bad luck. It's the Tarverdian bad luck. He made contact with that motherfucker, and now he's got bad luck on his hands. So
listen,
the more of the bad luck will continue.
To the side, English is onto something. What he needs to do is look at what happened here. People need to think about this. Managers, fighters, social media is cool. It's cute. It's a great tool. It can fuck you too. Do not get cute and get your little panties in a ruffle and get on Instagram and make a video that's going to cost you thousands of dollars. Go get your cock sucked. Go have a drink. Go eat a steak. Don't make no fucking video on social media, man. This shit is for what?
Well, you probably got a few quid backhander from Nike, to be honest.
I mean, maybe he was trying to do that.
Is that even legal?
Well, that's why it's a backhander, wasn't it? I mean, there'll be something in him for it, for that. Yeah, without a doubt.
Fabricio
a pair of Jordans.
Verdum should be lucky and are grateful that he actually has a UFC fight kit, being that he's a former heavyweight champion. We got a guy, Tony Ferguson, 9-fight win streak, and the guy doesn't have a fight kit available to buy online. So that shows you how much Reebok cares about, or the UFC. You know what I mean? That's a top-notch guy right there. You know,
it's because Donald Trump is in control over there.
Ugh, shut up. If he does want to come out of the UFC, then you know where he's going to end up. He'll turn up at Rising.
Yeah.
Oh, just like everybody else.
It's turning like the retirement home. It's just
and Bellator's. Any chance Bellator's getting to snatch anybody up, they're snatching them up. I think they signed King Kevin Casey last week. So anybody who
they're gonna light the MMA world on fire with that one. They let Kevin the fucking King Casey go on back to goddamn teaching jiu-jitsu seminars or whatever the fuck he was doing.
Right, I like Kevin Casey jiu-jitsu. I don't want to see him anywhere near a cage just because he just does not have, in my opinion, does not have it. But you know, whatever. All right, Dave talked about it. RDA is no longer at Kings MMA. Weird to me, and Kirby, tell me what you think about this. It's weird to me that you leave the camp that you were with and you became champion. You know what I mean? It's not like they're talking about Kings MMA or Rafael Cordero, like he's Edmund, Ronda's coach Edmund Tar, whatever the fuck. Okay, they're not talking about him like that. This is a legit good camp, legit good gym, and a great head coach. RDA leaves, needs something new, and he's going into a fight with no head coach. What do you think about that?
Listen. I think that we in the MMA world love to make a fucking mountain out of a molehill. Listen, what gym is he going to join?
His own.
He has his own.
Oh, well, there you go, boys. There's the answer to your fucking question. He's fucking trying to get paid. Listen, Rafael Cordero's still going to help him train. I'm sure they're friends. Mm-hmm. I'm sure he can afford his services. RDA's just opening up his own gym, man. He's trying to get paid. He ain't the champ no more, and he didn't have a problem. He wasn't doing red panty nights when he was there.
Yep.
I think he's probably just trying to make money, man. I don't think this will affect his camp none. I mean, maybe a tiny bit, but I think he's still going to train with most of the same guys. The camp will be primarily the same. The gym is in Brazil, right? That shit ain't. Is it in America where he's opening it, or is it in his hometown?
California? Yeah, he lives in California.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. I mean, I really don't think this will matter too much, man. I really don't. Maybe a little bit, because opening a gym and starting a new business can be, somewhat time consuming and shit. But it's not like he's switching camps. He's starting his own gym. So he'll probably still keep most of his shit the same, I would imagine, as far as his personal training camp for this fight goes. Now, maybe after this fight, we'll see. But I would imagine even then, he'll probably still stay closely related to the guys that he fucks with. Right. It'd be kind of stupid. Actually, it'd be really stupid to leave that camp entirely, especially going into a fight, a big fight. This is a big fight. He's coming up, this weekend with Tony Ferguson, who's not a pushover whatsoever. Even though, Lando made him seem really human very quickly. But regardless, Tony's not fucking around. That guy's up in Big Bear doing crazy shit. Eddie Bravo's up there training him, or was up there training him every single day. Now he's over with Kelvin Gastelum, I think, in California. So, yeah, but Andy, what do you think about this? Fighters, especially guys that basically grew with the gym, just leaving. Now again, just like Fred said, probably not leaving entirely and starting his own gym. But I've seen, from what I can remember, a couple times, guys leave their gym and they kind of, go on losing streaks in they get into a weird place, don't they?
I think this is the result of 2.5 weeks without any fighting. I think it's a non-story. Like Fred said, he's gone off to set his own gym. You know, he's seen what Faber's done with his midget ensemble. You know, there's money to be made out of it. And you know, what's his age? How old is he now? I mean, he's not. You know, he's not in the early years of his fighting life, really. You know, and he's had a few battles as well, so he's probably looking to the future. And again, as Fred said, he's not as if he's gone to Dwayne Ludwig because he's fed up with Rafael Cordera, is it? He's just moved down the road, found some space where he can open his own gym.
Right.
The fighters will come and spar with him, and he'll go back and forwards. And it's like I say, it's a non-story.
True, and you know, just for I guess reference, Nick Diaz did the same thing, but he didn't do it when he got to the UFC. Nick Diaz is when he was in Strikeforce, opened up his gym in Lodi, so that's the kind of thing there.
Right.
So I mean, it's a thing, and honestly, this reminds me. And Dave, let me know if you heard about this. Actually, Joe Lozon was posting about a UFC veteran summit, and from what I understand, it was something like, you know, what to do after you retire. I mean, this seems kind of like a similar move by RDA.
Yeah, I did see a little bit about that actually earlier today, Ed, and I think it's just, I mean, I wasn't surprised when I heard about this whole RDA situation because it's been a long time coming. I think it's been in the works for, you know, since before when he was champion. You know what I mean? This was like his plan to do this. Like Andrew said, it's not like he's leaving, like Travis Brown leaving Jackson Wink and going to fucking Coach Edmonds, nothing like that. Fred's correct. He'll probably be still associated with a lot of his normal training partners. He's making a cash move. I mean, he'll probably benefit pretty well. I mean, if that's what he wanted to do, he's got some cash. He missed out on a fucking red panty night where he'd be rolling in some dough, and he might have had a win over Connor. But man, is he in a different place right now because he's got a hell of a tough fucking matchup against Tony Ferguson. He was knocked out pretty badly a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. So he's right back in there. So he's got his hands full this weekend, and now, you know, besides fighting, he's got the gym to fall back on, and which he's definitely got to perform this weekend if you're going to continue that trek back to the top.
Definitely, and again, that's a 155 division is another one that's going to start getting clogged because of the Eddie Alvarez and Conor McGregor fight and all that. So, you know, prepare for some shit. And we're actually going to break down we're going to do our little predictions of the main card at near the end of the show here. All right, let's talk about fighters pulling out of fights, namely Luke Rockhold, a.k.a. strikes again. Luke Rockhold injured out of his fight against Jacare. So the question immediately goes, what do you do with Jacare? All right. My first thought, and Fred, you speak on this here. My first thought is you book Jacare Bisping for the title. Bisping wants to fight. Jacare's free. Now, unless Bisping wants to, you know, just only wants a money fight, this is kind of the move, right?
Okay, so, like, I don't know exactly what happened. Did Luke Rockhold drop out of the fight due to injury? Is that what happened?
Due to injury is what I read.
Okay, I just heard that he was, like, out of the fight. I kind of low-key thought maybe the UFC pulled him and was going to try to add some flair to 206. Yeah, exactly. The card in Toronto, because it's like really lacking right now. Everybody's bitching about it. So I thought maybe they were just pushing a power move there. But yeah, that's where I figured they were going. What the fuck else they gonna do with Jacare at this point? Like, if Luke's hurt and Weidman's still fighting Romero, I mean, the only other person out there is Gegard, and they fought, right? And Jacare submitted him, correct?
I'm pretty sure Jacare beat him.
Yeah, Jacare submitted him. Jacare has to fight.
No, Rockhold won that fight.
I guess it's
real quick, just to make sure we have this right discussion here for because we have to. Frederick Erickson over on YouTube letting us know Bisping all of a sudden saying he has a knee injury and a broken orbital bone.
Ooh.
Oh, well.
I don't think he wants any piece of Jacare. Or he really wants that money fight.
You can only avoid that shit for so long, though. But, I mean, it still does leave Jacare in a weird spot. And no, Dave, I was talking about Gegard.
Oh, the Gegard fight.
Jacare fought. Yeah, he submitted Gegard, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
So he kind of put an exclamation point on that. It was a couple years back, so I guess maybe they could run it back if Jacare just needs a fight. And then I don't know if Bisping all of a sudden got hit by an ice cream truck. It sounds like fucking orbital bone and his knee bone shattered and the like. What's up with that, English? You making excuses?
What the fuck are you asking me for?
Don't act like they ain't your people now.
I've always said I've never been a great fan of Bisping. I've never been, denied that. But I don't know. I mean, it'd be if he were to have taken the fight, I would have thought it'd been too early for him after the hammering, to be honest, that he took from Hendo. So yeah, and he took a bit of a beating as well with Silver a couple of fights before that. So it was only the Rockhold fight that was really quick. So I don't think especially with Jacare, because I mean, you don't want to go on the ground with him for starters. So what's he going to do? Stand and bang with the guy? He's going to lump 10 bells out of him. So it wouldn't be an advisable fight for him right now, to my, in my opinion. As far as what you do with Jacare, I don't know. Give him GSP.
I mean, why not? I mean, at that point, it's like, why not? But GSP, I don't know. I'm convinced GSP don't want to fight. I think he's just talking shit, but that's a different subject here. Mike Jarvis the line means running scared over on YouTube. But
he's made excuses on why he shouldn't have to fight these top 5 guys, in which it was already basically set up as almost like a 4-man tourney, like the way we've seen it playing out. Gegard Mousasi was shining big after Vitor. He was calling out any fight he can get. He got Uriah, and I think now they booked Robert Whitaker, Derek Brunson as the main event for that
Australia
Melbourne card. So, but hey, man, Derek Brunson, he's on a big streak too. So if he shows up big, that's his time to shine. Gegard's got a rematch. He wants that one bad. But kind of crazy how Bisping's over there, continually calling this guy, and I want this money fight. And like Fred said, he's all of a sudden hit by a fucking ice cream truck today. So very.
But you know what? The English is right though. I don't really blame Bisping. Look, if I was Bisping, I would fight GSP on late notice and save the Toronto card, because what do I got to lose? And it's a big, huge money fight. But fuck that. I ain't fighting the goddamn gator snake on fucking 6 days notice, 2 weeks or whatever the fuck. Like, you know what I'm saying? Risking my belt and shit. Fuck off. Like, I'll fight him, but you're going to have to give me a few months to prepare for that motherfucker. And I'm going to soak this shit all in. I ain't just taking it on a whim. Fuck that.
And to be fair, Bisping did say when he first won the belt, he said that Jacare is the one that's entitled to it.
Right. Yeah. Right. So I mean, it might. I think maybe he was like willing to risk the knee and the orbital bust or whatever against Nick Diaz for money or GSP for money.
Right.
I don't think he was willing to do that for Jacare, because let's be honest, Jacare Bisping's not going to be a massive draw.
Nope.
But a Diaz or a GSP would draw a fucking ridiculous amount of money. So, kind of understand it that way. And then Frederick making a good point here says, wouldn't GSP be totally undersizing his Jacare? I think so. I think Jacare is pretty big compared to GSP, right?
Yeah. Now, listen, who wants to fight Jacare?
Jacare is compared to everybody.
Nobody wants to fight Jacare.
His weight cut's got to suck.
Yeah, I mean, and he doesn't have that great name value.
Right.
You said it. Like, Nick Diaz is a bad motherfucker, and quite frankly, I would pick Nick over Michael Bisping. I just think he's a tough, durable motherfucker. But, I mean, I think that Bisping would rather take that L. He just doesn't have the same name value, man, and he's more dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a shitty fight to take on the surface. Who wants to fight Jacare? What the fuck?
Right, and Bisping's on his last few fights. I mean, he knows it. So he's right now he's getting that rainy day retirement money right there.
And Rockhold obviously doesn't want to fight him. So
I was gonna say, you brought up Rockhold, Andrew. That's the thing though. Like Rockhold has been very vocal about him, making, these $1 million checks, whatever, modeling, or he's got some business ventures. He's doing the headphone type deals. So I looked at the other day at his career disclosed earnings, and it's not that much. I mean, you guys remember when he was fighting Luke Rockhold, or when he was fighting Bisping, he's saying he's making $1 million, especially around that time. So as champion, and then look at where he's at now. The wheels were set in motion for this middleweight division. So pretty much Gegard, Uriah Hall, I mean, sort of switched around, throw Nick Diaz as a wild card. So we still have the ongoing somewhat of a middleweight tournament here with we don't know who Bisping is going to fight next, but he's been on a wave in 2016. It's been the year of fucking Bisping. So he decided to take another bout. Like Andrew was saying, he did take a beating recently, and maybe retirement is looming. Who knows? But I'd love to see Bisping back in there against a big name, but it has to be named Chris Weidman or Jacare or Yoel Romero, because Yoel Romero is the last guy to beat Jacare, and that was a close fucking fight. It was razor thin. So looking forward to seeing if Chris Weidman shows up to fight Yoel Romero in a week and a half, or next week. I'm sorry.
Right, and again, look, the way I see it, Jacare is, unless Yoel or Weidman do something ridiculous at 205, Jacare's got to be next. So I mean, that's the way I see it. All right, moving on to the next little segment here. The fate of John Jones hangs in the balance. Now, okay, so they've gone through this whole thing already, right? The Nevada Athletic Commission, I don't think it was on Fight Pass or anything, because I didn't get to see anything. All I did was read about it, and people were live tweeting about it and all that shit. Basically, they went through the whole hearing and everything, but they didn't make a decision, right? They were like, "Oh, we'll make a decision later on." John Jones's representation said, "No, we need one ASAP." This dude wants to fight as soon as possible, obviously. So, Dave, what do you know about this whole thing with John Jones?
Yeah, it was pretty like his attorney came about and said that they're pretty confident that all the evidence that they wanted provided in those hearings and in that arbitration meeting, that it went the length that they wanted to be. I mean, if it took all day and all night, they were going to get their point across, in which we'll all figure out and find out all the pieces to the puzzle on what actually John did, what supplement he took, what it pertains to. I mean, no one really knows. It's still the mystery of all mysteries, and we'll actually find out very soon. It seems like it's next week, the following month, but we're finally going to find out. And I think it leads to perfect timing in which DC and Rumble will do their thing. John gets his little retroactive suspension, and he's good to go early 2017. But I thought it was a very interesting tweet that I think it was Brett Okamoto, or if it was Mark Ramundi. They were talking about the money that these arbitrators get paid per hour, and it was like $300-400 an hour. You know what I mean? To do this, and how long were they, in session, and it pretty much just goes back to it's all about the fucking money. And then hey, we're gonna eventually have Johnny Bones back in the mix, because all this fucking show that they've been putting on, I see it leading just to John returning. He's got to return at some point. The timing is going to line up perfectly if it's the retroactive suspension from June the 16th, I believe. Which he's gonna be back, like I was telling you guys, in true 80s fashion in early 2017 in a title fight.
New Year's card watch. Somehow they'll find a way to get him on that shit.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Right, and oh, by the way, real quick, because we were talking about DC Rumble, people were freaking the fuck out on Twitter. Someone tweeted out that DC might have been out of the fight and the fight was canceled. People were freaking the fuck out. Rumble was like, no. Apparently, Rumble just tweeted out PSA coming soon. That's literally all he said. And motherfuckers jump on that shit, started making up sources. Oh, I got a source over here, and I got a source over here. Fucking one Twitter account that I saw, it was like, oh, we had two sources. This shit's down. DC's out. Fucking the fight's off for 206. 206 is ruined. And then Rumble's like, hey, you fuckers, chill out. I wasn't saying none of that. 206 is fine. We're good. So then everyone started deleting their shit. It was the most. I love watching people with sources fucking hit the reverse. Hit their, hey, let's back up. We didn't say that shit. But yeah. Unfortunately for those motherfuckers, we know how to use screen cap, bitch. So yeah. Anyway, moving on here. Okay, this is a weird question, and I know Dave, you put this down. Ari Gold hasn't done any media yet, right? And my first thought when I hear you see that is Frank Fertitta didn't really do a lot of media either, right? It was, in fact, Dana White stopped doing media altogether. He hasn't done any press conferences, nothing in a long time, right? It was usually Dave Scholler handling that shit, which obviously won't be anymore. I think as soon as he's full into the Philadelphia 76ers, but it is an interesting thing that someone that's been portrayed in like an entourage hasn't done any media, especially when there's a lot of questions for the new ownership about this whole purchase. So Dave, why do you want to talk about that?
I just think that it's interesting that he hasn't came about and addressed the media or talked to anybody since the sale, talked about anything, with the fighter cuts, or I don't know if him and Dana are just kind of taking a back seat. As a lot of people did say over a lot of years that, Dana White's the biggest star of the UFC or so. He was always a pretty available guy. He'd sit down, do a scrum, do the post fight. That was his normal routine. So I guess maybe if Ari's taking that approach, he doesn't want to be, a guy where it's like you guys we're always referencing the Ari Gold character from Entourage. It's like, I guess you don't want to be kind of characterized as some sort of guy where he does shit similar to that guy. But hey, it's pretty much, we know what the UFC, what the landscape is. It's a whole different fucking universe. Dana White's a totally different guy. We've got a lot of major pieces to the puzzle. I think that it's going to benefit a lot of fighters in the long run, but we won't really see, the effect take place like immediately. It's going to be all these big stars. They're going to transition to the movie business, get them in fucking TV shows and all that type of stuff. And it's the guys at the top. It's like either you're in or you're out. And like Fred, and like we always say, the show will go on, whether it's Donald Cerrone, whether it's John Jones, they got their stars. So that's why I think it pretty much ties into like Ronda Rousey competing at the end of the year, John Jones being back in the mix. They want their big time stars in the mix, and they want the stars to be stars and not just like a lot of people would say back in the day, oh, how could Dana White be the biggest star of the UFC? In which I guess a lot of people felt that way, and I kind of somewhat did myself for a period of time. But it's a whole different ballgame now. It's all about the money. Everybody knows that the money fights are going to come, and we got a hell of a fucking way to end 2016, in which we'll have Joe Silva out of the mix as well, in which matchmaking will be a little bit different. So it's a whole different MMA world, guys.
Yeah, Fred.
Listen, have you met or seen Ariel Helwani? Do you know the MMA media? No wonder the guy don't do no fucking goddamn media. Last thing he probably wants is that mouthy little big nose prick fucking asking him a bunch of questions he can't answer publicly or can't give the numbers to, or, you know, man, it's fucking sticky business running shit at the top. Like, if he does do an interview, it'll be somewhere on Fox with, you know, pre-wrote questions that he can fucking, you know, give really good, firm answers to. He's not going to be available for some random jerk off like Ariel Helwani to make look stupid or to get caught in a lie. You know, like we always say, man, these motherfuckers got money and they're smart. Dana White, listen, I think the UFC that we all like came up watching and grew to love is going to be a thing of the past, man. Like, Dana White used to get them in trouble because he couldn't shut his mouth up. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they're going to make those same mistakes no more, man. You're never, like, we should have soaked that shit up. When you was getting hour-long scrums with just Dana White and he was being so fucking upfront with you about everything, like, we should have really appreciated that, because that shit ain't going to happen no more. Like, they're not just going to come out and do tell-alls after the fight. And you're definitely not going to hear that motherfucker calling somebody like Loretta Lynn a faggot or whatever the fuck he called her. Like, those days are over, Jack. Like, if he does an interview, it'll be controlled. It won't just be with fucking Ariel on the fly after an event.
Exactly that. Because at the moment, what's the UFC doing? Firing people, making cutbacks. All the money's like they're just trying to save as much money. And if you think they're going to stand up there in a post-fight press conference and expect everybody to talk about the fights and not why are you laying off these people, it just isn't going to happen.
Right.
They can leave that to the underlings, and then the underlings can turn around and say, well, it's not my job, I don't know. But when you get to Ariel, God, when you get to Dana and that level upwards, they are the ones that are expected to have the answers. So you keep exactly that. You keep them away from media until you can, exactly like Fred said, until you can get them in a contained environment where they know what the questions are and they can pre-prepare them. It's not going to be ad hoc anymore.
Much agreed. Yeah, Manny and Mac making a real quick point here on YouTube before we get to Jesse here. They're getting all their ducks in a row first, reorganizing the UFC into what they want before addressing the media. Otherwise, they waste their time with media just trying to get a scoop, a story, spin. And that's a good point. The media, you know, especially guys like Ariel, will take something and spin it into whatever the fuck they want. And of course, everyone buys it, eats it up. And then you got, 18 other journalists at press conferences and fucking media calls asking dumbass questions the whole time. And then the whole thing gets thrown in the shit. So anyway, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Mr. Jesse Rubacaba at LA, man. How you doing?
Man, I was living the Cali life, so it's always good. But to that point, kind of jumping in with you guys real quick, to that point, I think we should have seen this coming from even before the cell, because it's been a while since we've seen Dana White do a scrum or even be in front of the media after the pay-per-views. Most of the time it's Dave Schaller or somebody else, and I think that pressure of being the guy out there kind of got to a lot of those guys too. You know, a lot of the guys that resigned after everything got sold and everything's now starting to get packaged up and, kind of streamlined to being, whatever the UFC is going to be in the future. The next big thing in sports or whatever they think that it's going to become. But to me, it comes as no surprise that we're not seeing Dana White or even Ari. I mean, why would we ever imagine that Ari Gold is going to go out there and go, hey guys, I don't know too much about the sport, but go ahead and shoot me some questions and
that's true.
I'll tell you what my idea for the sport is. That's never going to happen. I mean, what? Go ahead, Fred.
No, I think that dude knows. Listen, I think that dude knows a lot about the sport. I think those dudes didn't go into this blindly. I just think that dude don't want to, he don't want to have to give the hardball fucking, why didn't you get the GSP fight done? Because that motherfucker wanted too much money and we don't play that shit.
I agree with you. I think he knows enough about the sport to be to be able to say, hey, look, this can grow. This can be one of the things that, makes me a lot of money. But he could also be one of the guys that if you put him in front of a hardcore MMA guy, that guy's going to know a lot more about the inner workings and about how people do things and how things are done than he does. And he's going to get made to look stupid by some fat, Cheeto-fingered journalist, quote unquote, a guy living in his mom's basement asking him stupid questions that, he should probably know. I think he's still, whatever figurehead we're going to have, being probably it's not going to be Dana White for much longer. I think whatever figurehead we have is probably getting groomed by everybody right now to be that perfect, kind of like Scott Coker-ish, where, you ask him a question and he kind of goes, I'll get back to you on that. Or, yeah, we'll talk about that. Like he's going to give those kind of vanilla answers, and that's what we're going to have to get used to from now on.
And honestly, like now that you mentioned it with the whole Dana White thing, and I just realized that the only ones that get a Dana White interview, Fox Sports 1, ESPN, or Megan O'Leary. Only ones that get it. Nobody else. Dana White will not take that. Anybody else.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to mention too. I think it was Izzy on Twitter that brought it up. He made a great point. It's like, where do you hear a lot of these announcements, the breaking news? It's coming from Brett Okamoto, ESPN. It's on Colin Cowherd. It used to be Ariel Helwani, but now it's ESPN. So it's the mainstream media, sports outlet that you're going to hear this from, and that's what they want. And that's kind of like, I would say Brett Okamoto's got a direct line to fucking Dana White, and that's the reason why you're hearing all these announcements and all the breaking news. So.
But how is that a surprise, guys? Like, I think we've kind of known that this is what they wanted. I mean, especially after that Brock Lesnar debacle thing, I think that's what Ari Gold and WME, I think their goal is to be kind of like the NFL, where you go to the NFL network to hear the story, the scoop. You go to ESPN to hear about the sport. You're not going to hear it from, some dude that has a podcast, or whatever, hour-long podcast as he claims, and it's like 10 hours long. I mean, I don't think you're going to get news from that source anymore as much as more like what we're getting now, which is Dana White going on his own, on their, their podcast that they have that with Matt Serra and whoever else, and, things like that. I think that's where we're going to start seeing more of the news funnel through. And I mean, think about it. What was the biggest news this week? Ronda Rousey went on Ellen. And then what happened right afterwards? Dana White went out and put out a statement, on one of those, very vanilla, very controlled places where he could say what he was going to say. And, and that's it. So, I mean, I think we should start getting used to the fact that, the breaking news isn't going to be coming from these sources anymore. It's going to be much more like a real sports. I mean, and I think it's a good thing. I think, getting the respect and the time on ESPN and all those places is actually good for the sport, instead of, still being, like one of those things where we look on Twitter and some dude that nobody's ever heard of got some scoop just because he was at the gym at the right time, True. I think that's a thing of the past for after this.
Yeah, Joe Rogan needs to get Dana White drunk on a plane and do a podcast again.
God, that would be the last one was great because people were freaking the fuck out about I forgot where they were flying, but they just
back from Australia.
Yeah, Cyborg having a dick and all to make weight because your dick off and shit. First of all, people that got mad about that are stupid. All right, because it's Joe Rogan. He's a fucking comedian. He's gonna say awful shit. Listen to his podcast more often. But regardless, because we already got past it, Jesse. RDA leaves Kings MMA. 1, how heartbreaking are you? And 2, how will it affect RDA?
I think I've always talked about this, that when I think we talked about it last time too, that when a fighter starts changing camps because they lost, it says more about the fighter more than anything. I know out there in the media, Cordero has, kind of seemed like it's cordial, he did part of the camp at the beginning and all this stuff, but, from how I hear it, it wasn't very amicable, the split. I mean, I think the whole him wanting to open up his own gym and everything, I think it just turned into something bad for both of them. I think if you understand how Cordero works, he kind of licensed out his King's MMA type of gym out to people, and I'm just shooting in the dark here. I think maybe RDA wasn't happening with the fact that you know, his gym was going to be a King's MMA gym. I think he wanted it to be more kind of like El Cucui's gym, where it's more of a private, just him about himself and maybe a little bit of buddies to help him train. And I think that's what's causing the big problem. And as you can see, I mean, I think this whole big issue is really going to be the deciding factor in that fight on Saturday. Because we're going to see Beneil Dariush with Rafael Cordero in his corner. So they're all going to be there. So, I mean,
two questions, Jesse. I don't want. Sorry to interrupt you. 2 questions. Okay, you mentioned that. That's a good point. Dariush is on the card. How long has RDA been in Mexico, and is Cordero cornering for sure?
Cordero is cornering Dariush, but I'm pretty sure, like almost like 100% sure he's not going to corner RDA.
No, that's fucking interesting.
Well, I mean, you know, for them playing nice in the media, it's pretty nasty on the outside from what I hear. I mean, you know, think about it though. Cordero is a guy that took RDA from a guy that got completely destroyed a couple, 6 fights ago, and had shitty boxing, to a guy that's now a feared striker that is well-rounded enough that he can keep it on the feet and he can hurt you on the feet and everything. And if you take him down, it's trouble on the ground because he's got his jiu-jitsu and everything, right? So you take a guy and build him up to that point, and then the guy kind of goes, well, I lost, so whatever you're doing, it's not working. I'm going to go figure out myself. You know, Cordero's kind of a proud guy, and to him, I imagine it was like a spit in the face, you know, like, you know, I'm just kind of leaving your system and kind of doing my own thing. Like, I mean, that's not a thing you kind of want to do. But then on the other hand, I also hear that RDA was not happy with how they do their sparring over there at King's MMA, which, as you know, it's kind of a Shito box type of deal where they go hard. I mean, because the harder you go, the tougher you're going to be, and that's how they've always modeled their training. So, I mean, I don't know, man. There's so many moving parts to this whole situation, but as you were saying, the big thing is seeing who's going to corner who and if Cordero is going to still be in his corner. But from what I hear, he's more than likely not going to be in his corner, and it's just going to be how that dynamic works in the end.
Yeah, and that's honestly, the relationship between corners and fighters is very important during the fight. Especially in between rounds and everything, and to not have Cordero in there in his ear when he's on the stool has to be a little bit weird. But yeah. Anyway, what do you got for
where did you hear that Cordero's not going to be in his corner?
I have a birdie.
Display your sources.
I don't do that. I know I'm gonna be Helwani here.
All right, Helwani.
Here we go.
If your sources know what they're talking about.
All right.
Hey,
it will be interesting.
No, you know what? I'll tell you what. Whatever I hear, I also have to take it with a grain of salt because, as you know, they know that everybody talks. So they put out a lot of different information out there to several different people just because they don't know what's going to get back, what's going to get out. And so I always take what they say with a grain of salt, you know. But like I said, from what I hear, he's not happy at all. Cordero was not happy at all. So it might be that they bury the hatchet and they get it together. But I mean, not being his head coach for 4-6 weeks or something like that. I don't know how much of a relationship they're going to be able to have to be a corner and a coach, you know. It's not going to be in sync, you know. So I don't think they would allow themselves to do that to each other anyway, you know. I don't think they'd be like, yeah, you know, we buried the hatchet, just tell me what to do, I've been working on this stuff. That I don't think they're going to do that either.
All right. Good.
So that's so weird because it's like, you know, Dariush is on the card, Cordero's going to be there, his guy, he made him champ, like Jesse was saying, he brought him up from getting pounded out by Clay Guida, getting a steel plate in his jaw, to coming up and being the world champ and starching Donald Cerrone, one of the top guys, you know, in the 55 and the 70 division. So, yeah, RDA is in a weird spot right now, and it's not looking good from what Jesse broke down about the situation now. So, yeah, he's got a fucking tough task in Ferguson on Saturday.
Right.
No, I'm thinking about Clay Guida breaking RDA's jaw. Clay Guida was such a fun little character the way he bounced around with that caveman hair.
He's still in the UFC.
Excited. I think so.
Yeah, he's still in the UFC.
Is he still alive?
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Before we get into this weekend's main card, we're gonna just make our predictions for the main card. Dave, what about those fight bookings? What do you got?
Fight bookings. I mean, you guys all heard earlier this week the giant bout book with Matt Mitrione and none other than Fedor Emelianenko.
Is that booked
for Bellator?
Yeah.
Right. But it's a done deal though.
Yeah.
Supposedly it is. Supposedly it is.
Was that from recently? Because I think about 2 days ago, Fedor put that he was in negotiations with him.
Right. It's in the works and everything. That's what they put out when it's pretty much done. But we never know. To me, it's a weird fight because Matt Mitchell against Fedor. I'm like, so yeah, like I don't care. Like, it's weird. But I don't. It's like whatever. Anything with Fedor after Maldonado hurt Fedor repeatedly in the last fight. All I want to hear is the announcer from EFN. I don't care about the fight.
Yeah, well, they better sign his ass up then, because what is he? Bellator? Somebody needs to sign that guy up. But
somebody needs to sign him because it was what the hell is going on? I'm like, oh, this is the shit. But
well, you'll hear him again when Fedor's brother fights because EFN have signed Alexis, haven't they?
He's out of prison.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out! They let that guy out.
Right?
It's Russia, Jack.
Holy shit! They let the guy. That guy's a brutal motherfucker, and they let him out.
Pardoned him personally.
Jesus Christ! All right, that's insanity. I did not hear about that. He's gonna kill somebody.
Wait. He got out.
Yeah,
no
they
shirt and announced he's ready to fight. Like,
yeah,
he's ready to go.
Signed him. And EFN signed him.
Yo, he got like Hep C.
What does that matter?
They're gonna care in Russia.
Yeah.
No.
Jesus Christ! What is Russia? Jurassic Park?
Might as well be.
No biggie. Just throwing a cup in a mouthpiece.
It's Jurassic Park with billionaires, mate. That's the problem.
Jesus Christ!
And Putin chilling the fuck out too.
Hey, and Matt Mitrione is not only like whatever the talks of the Fedor fight, he's over there picking a fight with Johnny Bones via Twitter.
That was stupid.
So.
Hey, go ahead and explain to the people what the fuck was going on, because that was dumb as hell.
Yeah, it was. I don't know where it came about. I mean, John kind of got triggered, and John has been, kind of on Twitter, been pretty.
Whoa! Don't say that word, man. That's offensive.
Triggered. Oh shit! Jesse's triggered. Fuck.
Hey,
space.
Well, fight bookings. I mean, Eddie, we were talking about the Tough finale. About attending that event, and the assassin baby Brandon Moreno will be fighting Ryan Benoit. He'll be making his second UFC appearance on that card as well. He's actually the first fight on the card. As we all heard, John Lineker, TJ Dillashaw. What do y'all think of that one?
That's a stupid fight.
What?
You know what? No. Listen. I'm calling a halt this right now. Jesse, you just earned yourself MMA Cunt of the Week. Right now. It's enough with your mouth. You're always negative. This is a stupid fight. There is nothing about that fight that is fucking stupid. It makes divisional sense.
Wait.
It makes
it makes divisional sense. What division? Because what's his name's probably gonna miss weight again. So what division is he fighting in?
Yeah. What are you, Nostradamus? Let him miss weight before you fucking start jumping on his tits.
Well, like you said, yeah, Fred has mentioned it before, though. This fight, we talked about this fight happening, and Fred made a very good point, and I'm with it 100%. Lineker could go in there and fucking thunderstrike TJ Dillashaw, but if he can't make weight, he's fucked.
Yeah, he's deep shit.
He's got to do
that's
both.
The problem.
So.
See, that's the problem that I have with that fight is that you're endangering another top contender. What happened when Lineker fought Ian McCall? Ian McCall was one fight away from fighting for the title. And what happened in that fight? Lineker missed weight, and then he beat him. So he destroyed a title contender, and he screwed himself out of a title shot. So it's like he killed two birds with one stone in the wrong sense. So it's like, why are we doing this again? Like he already failed weight last time against Dotson. What makes us think he's gonna make weight this time?
Well, listen, fucking goddamn.
Well, you're on a run.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
What would you do with him then? Push him to 45?
You know what? I don't know what you have to. Maybe you have to hire Mike Dolch and like a babysitter to make sure that he's always on weight.
Yeah,
I don't know what to do, but you have to guarantee that he's gonna make weight.
No,
Unless you guarantee that he
that.
makes weight, that's it. You can't do that.
You can't guarantee. Listen, you got to give the poor prick another chance. I mean, that was the first time he'd missed weight at 35, right?
No, fifth time. Was it like fifth time?
No, easy. At 35.
Yeah, first time at that weight. I think third or fourth time at 25. So
sure. I know, but
Jesus.
listen, we left 25 behind. I know it's a bad look. Give him one more fucking fight at 35. He's only missed weight at this weight one time. It was his first time at that fucking weight.
Mm-hmm.
Give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, and then it wasn't necessarily like Dillashaw was the guy for the fight. I think there was talks of the Lineker and Caraway fight brewing up, and I think Caraway was lobbying to get that matchup. So they fed him to TJ Dillashaw. They're like, here you go, you missed weight. TJ's likely gonna fucking. I got TJ winning this fight. I mean, Lineker he looked good against John Dawson, but everybody's still arguing that decision as very controversial. But the main focus for John Lineker for this fight is make weight. I think he shows up. Yeah. He showed that he can go 5 rounds. So this fight's a 3-round fight. It's a different scenario this time around, but making weight is key. Adding to the other fight bookings, let's go through them real quickly. Takeo Mizugaki, Eddie Wineland is booked. They have like I mentioned,
holy shit.
The Whitaker and Derek Brunson fight, like we mentioned, it's moved to the main event. And then also in the Bellator rankings, Darian the Wolf Caldwell is going to get the rematch against Joe Tamanglo, the one where he dove into a fucking guillotine and got choked out, and big time upset in 2016. But
I got a really good laugh out of that one too. I laughed real hard when I saw that shit.
Don't forget Liam McGeary's fighting on Friday as well.
Oh, that's right, McGeary Davis for the light heavyweight title.
Okay.
So
I was wondering why I should give a shit about that Bellator card.
Oh, it's worth it.
And my favorite woman fighter of all time, Marlies Conan, is on that card. So.
Oh yeah, I was watching.
Boy, you are proving yourself to be an epic shitbird, Marlies Conan.
Okay, all right. Let's one more thing real quick, because I just heard about this literally a little bit ago. Apparently, UFC is looking to do Brian Caraway against Jimmy Rivera in January. So on the Caraway train, I think Jimmy Rivera is the guy to take that shit off the wheels. Hopefully for the alleged former Mr. Tate.
You know, I almost feel bad for Caraway. They're kind of screwing him, giving him that fight. I bet you Caraway's like, fuck that, man. Give me the goddamn Dillashaw fight or some shit. Fuck.
Yeah, but Caraway kind of cornered himself that way by, always being hurt, quote unquote, and saying he can't take this fight, or because he had to attend a wedding, or he had a hangnail.
Oh, stop it. He cornered himself this way by begging Misha Tate. Let's just be honest. That's why we all hate the little prick. He's a short little prick that shouldn't be able to get that pussy, but he was getting it, so it's like, fuck him.
Yeah, fuck him. Anyway, all right. Let's go right into this weekend's card.
Wait. Before we go there,
what?
We got to give a shout out to our boy Ricardo Palacios, whose epic fight from Combate Americas from a couple months ago is going to be on tomorrow night on Azteca America TV. So just Fred, for you, just put it on mute because you're not going to understand what the hell they're saying. But it's a badass fight. I guarantee you're going to enjoy that fight. Just check it out. That guy's an exciting fighter.
And no shit, it was a good fight.
Does English speak Spanish, or am I the only one that won't understand on this podcast?
I don't understand what you fuckers are saying, let alone what's in Spanish.
He's like, I barely speak English. Like, fuck. All right. Let's talk about this weekend's card. UFC Fight Night, Mexico City. Obviously, this Saturday. UFC Fight Pass prelims begin at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. The FS1 prelims, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And the main card, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time. We're going to make our predictions for the main card here before we end the show. So first fight of the main card is going to be newcomer Alexa Grasso against Heather Jo Clark. To me, it's a weird fight. You know who I'm going to pick. I'm picking Grasso. Like, this is no way. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. Grasso's going to win by decision because Heather Jo Clark is a fucking zombie. She will not die. Who's the last chick that beat the shit out of her? Was it Joanna beat the shit out of her and she wouldn't fall? Like, she fucking knocked her out. Not even knocked her out. They had to stop that fight on the feet because Heather Jo Clark will not fall. What the fuck? All right.
I think
so Grasso's going to win decision. Go ahead.
Didn't KK piece her up last fight, right? That was her last
Somebody fucked her up. I want to say it was Joanna, but I'm not sure.
I think it was KK. Yeah.
But regardless, all right. Okay, maybe it was. Yeah, Fred, who are you picking in that one?
Grasso, man. Heather Jo Clark kind of reminds me of like a real tough old bar broad. She can take a beating, but she's not really good at fighting. She's like a fucking broad who won a couple tough man contests or so. She's going to get smashed, I think. Grasso's got a shitload of talent. Like, this is totally one of those fights where they're going to spotlight Grasso. Like, this is her fight to win, and not only win, but look good in doing so, for sure. So, bet the house on Grasso. And if you lose, sorry.
Yeah. Andy, who you picking, man?
Sadly, I agree with Ron Weasley over
there. Dave?
Yeah, absolutely. Alexa Grasso, and this is Fred said it best. It's a fight to showcase her. Alexa Grasso fucked up Jody Escobar, who's very, very tough, and she smashed her nose, smashed her in all rounds. I think Jody made a pretty good effort in the third round. She's tough as shit, but this is a fight to showcase Alexa Grasso and her coming out party, and she's here to stay in the UFC for sure. All
right, Jesse, the wild card.
The wild card. Yeah, I agree with you guys. I just don't think that it's going to be a walk in the park just because of the fact of the experience. But I think this is definitely one of those fights where, it should be basically a mauling by Grasso. She should just be able to run through Heather Jo Clark, but you never know, man. Those vegans are kind of tricky sometimes.
Kind of crazy. All right, moving on to a fight. A fight we was talking about a little bit ago. Number 9 ranked lightweight Beneil Dariush against number 15 Rashid Magomedov. I like Dariush. I've always liked Dariush away for the fights. He's gotten handed a couple wins here and there. Not gonna lie, but other than that, I mean, usually I don't bet against the Russians because they're freaking crazy. But yeah, I mean, I got Dariush in this one. Let's go with Dave here. Who you got?
Super, super close fight. I know Jesse's gonna, we're gonna be in agreement to anybody with a Moff or Goff or these Russian cats. I'm with them, especially this Rashid Magomedov. He's a very tough bastard, but I think it's gonna be a very close fight. It's a 49-51. I got to go Rashid Magomedov. I think he's the guy that's got. I mean, both guys got tremendous upside. Dariush had that little setback in which he came back and stormed back into the mix.
My God. Sorry. Real quick. If anyone was watching World Series, the Cubs were up by a lot. The freaking Indians just tied it.
Holy shit.
If anybody's watching the World Series, fuck off.
I'm just keeping track. And like, Twitter's freaking the fuck out. Sorry. Continue. That's my bad.
No, and then number 8, Beneil Dariush, he's number 8. Rashid Magomedov's 24. So if he wants to make a statement and make his way towards the top 15 or so, you got to take out Benny Dariush. So very close. Dariush is the underdog in the fight, plus 147. So slight underdog.
All right, Andy, you normally don't pick against the Eastern Europeans. Who are you picking this time?
I don't normally know, but I'm going to in this instance. I think Dariush has just got too much. And a guy that's got that much emotion on his face, you can't bet against him, can you?
Yeah, very true. Fred Kirby.
He's such a miserable old bastard.
I'm agreeing with that miserable old bastard, the Brit. I like Beneil in this one, man. Mostly just because the Russian's boring to me, to be completely honest.
All right, Jesse.
Yeah, I'm gonna solidify it. I mean, this is basically what is it, a 19-1 guy against like a 10-2 guy or 12-2 guy. I mean, both of these guys are pretty like really good. The only thing that kind of gives me a little bit of hesitance and makes me think that Dariush is gonna make this kind of a really easy fight for him is Magomedov. If you look at his record, he hasn't really beaten any top guy that you can really point to and say, well, that's a very definitive win. That makes me think that he's a very high contender in the division. So, I mean, if he can pull this off, this is definitely going to be his most high-profile win to date. But I think Dariush is he's going to just run through Magomedov pretty easily.
All right, moving on to the next fight, which I'm assuming is the final of Tough Latin America. I didn't even know it was on. Martin Bravo against Claudio Puelles. Nobody knows either one of these guys, so we'll just kind of skip over it. I guess enjoy that one. All right, and then 2 guys we definitely know a lot about. Ricardo Lamas taking on Charles Oliveira. If I'm not mistaken, Oliveira missed weight last fight, right? Or was that Cowboy? Cowboy Oliveira.
Yeah, Cowboy. Alex Oliveira.
All right,
Cowboy definitely missed weight. I don't know if Charles did. Who was Charles in the last fight? Anthony Pettis?
Pettis. Yeah.
Pettis.
Right.
Yeah. So again, he's taking on Ricardo Lamas. I like Lamas because he's a tough motherfucker, but I'm picking Oliveira on this one just for the fact that he's just crazy from all angles and the submission game's on point. So that's what I'm going with. Fred, who you got?
Yeah, man, this is one of those fights where it's like really, really fucking close, and I find myself just picking the guy that I like to watch more. I'm gonna pick Oliveira just because I like the crazy submissions. His striking is fucking, wild and wide open. I will say this: I think if it goes to a decision, that Ricardo Lamas will probably win because he's the more, safe, strategic fighter. If he can implement his game plan, he'll probably win a decision. But Oliveira's a wild man. You know what I'm saying? He's going to come out throwing crazy strikes and actually go for submission. So I'm going to root for him and say he pulls off a sub.
All right, Jesse, who you got?
Man, it's a tough fight to pick. But I think Lamas is going to be able to take it. If you look at Oliveira's record, a lot of his losses come to people that are very, very good strikers that are able to stop the takedowns and to kind of bring it back up to their feet. And I think Lamas has proven that he's that type of guy that if he gets taken down, he works right back to getting up and, throwing those heavy haymakers that he likes to throw. So I think that's what's going to happen in this fight. I think he's going to be able to keep it standing, and I think he's going to be able to knock out Oliveira.
All right, Andy?
I agree with Ginger Manbun again, unfortunately. Yeah, I think Oliveira is going to get it by submission. I think he's going to his striking comes from too many angles, and it's going to I think back foot Lamas.
Yeah, he's a funky striker for sure.
Yeah, and it'll go to the floor, I think, and his submission game he's shown it's just as bloody good. So I think I'm going to have to go for Oliveira.
All right, and Dave.
It's an exciting fight. I love it. No, with all due respect to BJ Penn, I mean, this is the fight that Ricardo Lamas should have had down in the Philippines. It's number 5 Lamas versus Oliveira, number 8. You look at Oliveira's resume, he's fought everybody. He's fought the Cerrones, the Edgars, you name it. He just came off of a submission loss to Anthony Pettis not that long ago, 27 years old. He's fought everybody, so he's definitely a contender in this fight. I think it's real close. I think Ricardo Lamas really does more damage here. Dude, I do think it does go to a decision, which I favor Lamas. He's the older opponent. He's 34 years old, so Lamas' time to shine is now. He's the number 5 guy. He's in a tough 145 division. I honestly thought one of these guys might draw Yair Rodriguez, which that cat does not have a fight booked as of right now, but post this event, maybe he'll have one, and this ideally would have been a great card for him to be on, the UFC Mexico card. But yeah, definitely Ricardo Lamas is going to take out Charles Oliveira, and I think he'll do it pretty easily as well.
Yeah, okay. All right, moving on here to the next fight. This is the co-main event of the evening. One of Dave's boys here, Diego Sanchez taking on Marcin Held. I think Held just got signed from Bellator, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a pretty solid fight, and it's a good spot for him coming in, or they give him a pretty good spot coming in from Bellator. So, Dave, who are you picking?
Yeah, very familiar with Diego and Marcin. I mean, Marcin spent a lot of time down here at Jackson's as well, so both these guys are familiar with what they're going to do. Marcin Held, 24 years old. Diego's 34 years old. He's still number 31 ranked in the lightweight division, so that's where Diego sits as of right now. I think this fight really it's Diego Sanchez against a submission specialist where he's never been submitted. So if the fight does go to the ground, Diego is going to, be a fucking zombie like usual, I believe. I think Marcin will probably get it to the ground at some point, and then we'll see if we still see that classic Diego Sanchez ground and pound, reversing, gaining top position. So I think we'll see a different Diego. I mean, the Joe Lozon fight was totally strange. I mean, the guy fucking never been knocked out his entire career and gets starched in 30 seconds by Joe Lozon. So I think here it's pretty much it's a grudge match. I mean, they're familiar with one another, so I think they're going to go at it. And I'm favoring Diego Sanchez in this fight. I think it goes to a decision.
All right, Andy, who you got?
I shall bow to Dave's superior knowledge on that because I don't care for either of them, to be honest.
All right. Kirby.
Listen, there are very few things I enjoy more in MMA than a motherfucker with a special move. I love that shit. Everybody that used to get their panties all wet about Ronda finishing the fights too fucking soon and using the same move, I fucking love it. Don't you just love that shit? When something's coming and the motherfucker can't stop it, it's like, oh shit! They hit the arm. Marcin Held is the dude that always hits the ankle locks, right? The toe holds and shit.
Yep. Yeah, that's right.
He's always doing I fucking love that. A poor prick like that gets some shit that nobody else ever gets. I hope he rips Diego's fucking foot off. I'm going to be going fucking crazy. What is he? Some kind of European?
Polish.
Polish, yeah.
There we go. Hope the wild little Polak rips his fucking ankle off.
He is the
First round
favorite.
submission.
Al's the favorite right now, minus 125.
Oh shit! All right. And
You don't like him, Andy? Your fellow brethren from Poland?
No, it's you. What? My fellow what? God, fucking.
And in a loss,
You're
I mean,
both European.
You guys think this is in a loss in any sort of fashion? This is the last fight for Diego?
No,
I haven't heard anything about it.
Yeah.
That guy's gonna die in the cage.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about it, and you almost never hear Diego Sanchez talks of retirement. I know you got like Johnny Hendricks talking about retirement, but never Diego Sanchez. You know what I mean?
Listen. I thought Diego was in Bellator already. That's no bullshit. I thought he was already in Bellator.
Rising.
That dude, if he gets fucking toehold or some shit, they're gonna send him around to the back of the barn. It's enough with Diego.
All right, Jesse.
Damn. Disrespecting poor Diego Sanchez over there, Kirby, but
no, we know you're Mexican. Jesus. We get it.
Honestly, I think this is going to be an interesting fight because I think Diego Sanchez has the same style that has given Martin Held trouble before, but it's also dependent on Diego Sanchez's chin, and we know it's pretty epic, but it's been recently kind of tested a little bit and seemed kind of shaky. So, Martin Held knows how to strike, knows how to really utilize his jiu-jitsu. I mean, most of his wins are by submission, one way or another. So, I just think it's going to be an exciting fight, and I think it's going to showcase just how good Will Brooks is, because Will Brooks beat him pretty soundly too in their fights. So for the title, so I think it's just going to be one of those things where we're going to look back and Martin Held is probably going to be one of those guys that is vying for a title shot in a couple fights here, and we're going to be saying, wow, Will Brooks still beat that guy. So but I think Martin Held walks away with this pretty easily as well.
All right. Well, I got Diego because I'm Mexican, so I don't hear that bullshit, Kirby. All right.
I respect that part of your game. I do. I respect that.
You'll never see me pick against Kane. I'll tell you that much. All right. Moving on to the main event of the evening. A great fight in lightweight division. RDA against Tony Ferguson. Obviously, we just talked about RDA leaving his gym. Kukui's running a 9-fight winning streak. It's a crazy fight. It's a lot of variables in there. I'll go first. I'm picking Tony Ferguson.
Because he's Mexican?
Pretty much. But I mean, I like his submission game a lot. He goes, no, for real though. I like Ferguson because he takes risks. He takes a lot of risks. So, it's he just likes taking risks. And I don't like fighters that take a safe. I don't like GSP type of fighters. And not saying GSP is not, talented or one of the best to ever do it, but he never took a lot of risks at near the end of his run in the UFC. Not a lot of risks taken. Ferguson risks a shit ton. He's kill or be killed type of guy. I'm a big fan of that, so I'm picking Ferguson because RDA's got all kinds of confusion, and I'm gonna go with Mr. Fred Kirby next year.
Okay, man. So listen, this should be a fun fight to watch. It should be entertaining, but I loathe both of these characters. I'll give you this: El Kukui is entertaining, but for some reason, I just don't like the guy. I don't. All of his herky jerky shit, his wiggling around, his goddamn monkey rolls and shit. It's all just a bunch of fluff to me for some reason. I feel like he's always extra as fuck, and it's not really all that useful. It just looks real good. And that's just my personal opinion on Mr. Kukui. He doesn't rub me particularly the right way, and I've had a noted history with Mr. RDA. I'm just, and you know what? To be honest with you, I don't got a good reason. They're both entertaining. I should like them, but I don't fucking like either one of them. But like with Donald Trump and Hillary, somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose. So, listen, sorry, as bad as it is for me in this one, El Kukui is Mr. Trump. And as much as I can't stand that goddamn RDA, and I still suspect him of cheating, I'm going with RDA on this one, man. I think that El Kukui's, I think he's a little overrated. And I think the herky-jerky shit's going to get him fucking rocked in his jaw.
All right.
TKO.
Out of everybody here tonight, I would never have guessed Kirby would have picked RDA.
Jesse, you're going last and you know this shit. Dave, who you got?
Yeah, it's a fantastic fight. I mean, I've been really high on Ferguson since the Fighter House. I mean, the only time I picked against him is when my buddy Lando nearly shocked the world and laid him out in Sioux Falls. So His style is just it's incredible style. I mean, he's always keeping you guessing. He adjusts in the fight. He's reckless, but he's reckless and he's smart at the same time. He's got a deadly submission game. He may do these Imanari rolls and snatch your leg and put you in a weird spot down there and make you uncomfortable in there. And I think he's just got, like, I don't know, RDA is a traditional Muay Thai guy. He's got a great ground game. I mean, I can see that fight. He's going to the ground and being really, you know, just an action-packed fight anywhere it goes, sort of like the Edson Barboza fight. And I think that's the last time I think they used the short cage in the UFC is when Barboza fought Ferguson. That's kind of the reason why the fight went so chaotic the way it did, in which anytime Ferguson wins, he hurts motherfuckers. He makes you bleed. He cuts you up. Look at what he did to Josh Thompson. You know what I mean? So he's shredded up some top-notch guys. I think he's deserving of a title shot. He'll be the first guy to have nine-fight streak in the lightweight division. So that's history right there. And I kind of like his approach to and his mentality leading into these fights. He's sort of like, I think he went on the record saying, I'd rather have a black belt from Eddie Bravo than have a tarnished 155-pound title. So the guy's just taking on all comers. He's very deserving of a title shot. The Khabib fight probably would have lined him up with that, but he's just got to take care of business and take out RDA, who is the number 4, or he's a number 2 ranked guy. El Kakui's number 4 world. So, and if he does happen to lose and RDA is on top of his shit that night, Tony will be super impressive in a loss. It'll be very exciting, but it'll be fucking a fantastic fight. And I think Ferguson shreds him up and gets the job done. All
right, Andy, who you picking?
I'll preface this with Ferguson's a prick.
He is.
Can't stand the cock-headed fuckweevil. So I'm hoping that the RDA that took apart Cowboy turns up and absolutely fucking destroys him. There's some arrogance, big-headed obnoxiousness about I just detest the fucker. And it's a family-held thing because my sons have exactly the same opinion. And we both want the guy just fucking put on his ass. And for one night, could they bring in head stomps, please? Just fucking just cave his fucking skull into the canvas.
I'll agree with you.
But I'm completely unbiased.
Yeah. No, but for real, the Ferguson is a douchebag. I'm not gonna lie about that. But all right, Jesse, are you staying on the RDA bandwagon?
Of course. Why would I pick any different? But if anybody is playing the drinking game, Lando Venata is going to be mentioned yet again.
Oh yeah.
Because of that fight, Tony Ferguson took it lightly and got put on his ass several times, and his chin got tested, and it was a little suspect. Now you could say that, anybody gets hit like that, blah blah blah, whatever. I just don't think that RDA. I think RDA is a way better striker than Lando Venata, and I think the same shots that Venata was able to land, I think RDA is going to be able to land harder and be able to put away El Kukui. The only factor in this whole thing is the whole, the training camp and all that stuff and all that extra drama. That's all the only thing that worries me about this whole fight, because if RDA has his mind somewhere else, he's going to get destroyed yet again and get KO'd just like he did against, Alvarez, and that's the only thing that gives me a little bit of pause. I honestly don't think that, I kind of think that Ferguson is overhyped by a lot of people, and I just have never bought into the hype, honestly. Especially after that Lando Venata fight, to me, it signified that, he had so much, like, he was in his own head that he thought he was indestructible and he was just going to walk in there against a short notice guy and walk through him. Then he got beat up, and then he got almost finished, and then he had to dig deep and kind of pull that fight out of his ass. And the only reason he won that fight was because Venata gassed. Had he not gassed, he would have lost that fight. So I think that's all that to say that I think RDA is going to be able to pull it off as long as he has his head in the game.
All right. Well, that's going to be our predictions here for that card. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we end the show here?
Quickly, is Lyoto Machida still on the roster?
He should be. He was suspended
right?
for admitting to accidentally taking some shit.
Oh, okay. I was just thinking about that dude. I'm like, what the fuck happened to Machida? Of course, on fucking steroids, huh? Karate kick my ass.
Drinking that piss, recycling those roids. That's what happens somehow. Anyway,
ain't that a bitch?
Makes
He
it
was
stronger,
drinking
right?
his own piss, and he still ended up cheating. Jesus Christ!
I
You
still
should have just not drank your piss. You could have just started cheating a long time ago. Fuck it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, fellas. Well, that's going to do it for us tonight. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. You can follow Jesse at Spawat1983. Kirby is at Kirby_MMA. If you want to find him on Instagram, you can join his whorish hordes to click on like on his pictures
His
and
collection
shit.
of swamp donkeys.
That shit. Davis.
You're such a rude old Brit.
Dave is at Dave's MMA Brief, and Andy doesn't give a fuck. So you can follow me at Eli31, and the Advocates are at the MMA Advocates and at CrossBonesMMA. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you guys later.